Hello students. As promised, I'm recording a video right now to go through some final points with you about your interview memorandum assignment. So right now up on the screen I have the original assignment, and I'm going to sort of scroll through I think 5 or 6 student examples with you. If one of these is yours, you will certainly recognize it. I looked through some of the drafts that were submitted. So I'm recording this on Wednesday afternoon, and I see that there are still some for which students have received no peer review feedback. So you guys need to get on that very quickly if you haven't done that yet. So if you remind yourselves what the purpose of this assignment is, I think that will help to frame what your memo needs to have in it. Many of you in your draft just sort of combined all of the information together, but you didn't organize it in a very usable way, and the purpose statements that opened these various memoranda were kind of all over the map in terms of what you all said you were going to do in this memo. So the goal of the memo is to help you to, as I say here, gather information from practitioners about the connections between scholarly training in technical communication and the day-to-day activities and expectations in the TPC workplace. So these questions that are the bullet points are your foundations, and you know that because you all use them in the interview itself. Now, this content here, that this is your goal, is something that you need to resynthesize in the opening section of your own memo. And this other information up here at the top concerning my explicit purpose for you with this assignment is that you need to use your research skills and face-to-face information gathering skills to help you to collect information about basically the school to work transition, finding out what technical communicators do on a day-to-day basis. So right down here you'll see this point also. Your purpose, to be blunt, is to show me that you understand who technical communicators are and what they do. So those 2 points are very significant. You want to come directly out and say something like that in your purpose statement. Okay, so let's look at a few examples so that this video doesn't drag on too long. I want to restate that you need to share your memo with me as a PDF. Many of you uploaded doc files, and many of you had memos that were too long. This needs to be a 2-page memo, and you need to write it in 12-point font. If you must, write it in 11-page. 12-point font is what I desire. If you must, you can use 11-point font, but do not go smaller than that. Okay, so here is the memo of one student in the class here. And he has a subject and has an introduction that says the purpose of this memo is to discuss our understanding of technical communication while preparing for an SME interview. This discussion was drawn on primary research. Well, if you think about it, the purpose of the memo is not to prepare to interview an SME. You already did that. I explained to you just at the beginning of this video what the purpose of this memo is. So go back and watch the beginning of this video again, and then come back and sort of restate the purpose of the memo. Excuse me. So the audience for this memo obviously is me. I say that in the assignment. And also you can perhaps say audience and context as a heading here, and say who you interviewed and when and with whom. Now, it would be best and most efficient to move right in this sort of memo to specific questions, information gathering that you experienced with your SME. This student just comes right out and starts listing the questions, which is, let's see here, let me go back to the assignment, which are listed here in a bullet pointed list, but to just sort of embed them and quote from the SME without really signaling that is a little bit confusing. If these are the internal questions, they could be listed in a list and then discussed in paragraphs that didn't have their own bolded headings. So it's a little bit confusing why these questions are bolded, and these other bolded items serve as section headings, so that's a little bit confusing. But this was pretty good, all in all. And then the transcript happens. Now the transcript needs to look like a transcript. A transcript looks like this. This comes from another student's example. Here's a transcript: question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. And it can also have the author's initials as the questioner and the interview subject's initials as the answerer. That is what the template in your book shows, and that's what you need to do. So this looks like a transcript. This looks like sort of a summary of what was said. If you have a phrase like Dr. Newmark brought up the fact, blah, 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 that's just narrating what happened. That is not a transcript, okay? So please remind yourself what exactly a transcript is. So here's another student's example. This again has sort of an odd format and has some switches in font. We have a sans serif font and a serif font, both being used in the same document. This one has an opening section. This memorandum serves to recount a meeting. Well, that tells me what it does. Yes, it does recount the meeting, but this whole project has a larger purpose than to just recount the meeting that happened. So a broader scope, a broader understanding of what the purpose of this assignment is needs to be conveyed in this opening section. This student says before the interview, this student and other students prepared for the interview, but back up a little bit. What was the purpose of this exercise within our class to our class, and what kinds of people came during week 10 and why did they come? And what are you going to do in this memo? So this memo will reveal the questions asked and will summarize the answers while also involving secondary research to further illuminate some of the concepts included in the memo. This student notes the 5 central questions here, but also sort of includes the answers within the memo, which is very confusing because the purpose of providing questions and answers is really housed within the transcript. The transcript does not happen within the memo. The transcript happens after the memo. The memo includes more of a synthesis of that content that was generated in combination with research. So the citations as URLs should not happen within the document. We need a smoother narrative conveyance of information about what you learned from doing your secondary research, integrated with the information that you pulled out, the most salient information that you pulled out of the interview session. Okay, so let's look at just 2 more, because again, I don't want to make this too long for you guys because I have a feeling you might want to watch it more than once. So this is another student's memo, and it looks nice. It's got purpose, summary, introduction. It's an 11-point font, which means that it's a little tight. And if you look, this student has page 1, page 2, page 3, on to page 4. That's too long. It really needs to be edited down. A lot of this content is very good, but it needs to be condensed significantly. You do not need to recapture everything that your SME said within the memo because you're including a transcript. So the purpose of the transcript is to give all of the details. The purpose of the memo is to synthesize that content and to integrate it with the information that you collected in secondary research, all leading to support what you say at the very beginning about what the purpose of the memo is. So remind yourselves again, go back to the assignment, what is the purpose? So I highlighted that at the beginning of this video, so go back and watch the videos start again if you want that reiterated. Okay, so this is the last one I'm going to show you. This has an introduction. The purpose of this document is to analyze and discuss the discoveries made throughout the entire peer review practitioner interview process. Well, that's not exactly the purpose as I explicitly say it in the assignment. Your larger purpose is to learn about the connections between educational training in technical communication and workplace practices in technical communication. In order to gather that information, you all participated in an interview process. In this case, the student wants to introduce the tech writer in the introduction. That's fine. Refer to your tech writers by their last name, or even more formally by Mr. Cordero, for example, in this case. So this student gives sort of a summary section, but blends in the information from the SME within this section. If this is a background section, make it a background section, and then have a new section that is dedicated to tying that information to what your SME said. Again, this student has a new section called Audience where the student talks about what Simon said about that. That's fine. But I feel like that these signals, audience here, are a little bit odd because there's just these two, understanding technical communication and audience. So I think the student needs to revisit those headings. But all in all, this is pretty good, but it just needs a little bit of finessing vis-a-vis what the assignment was actually asking asking of you all. So this is a nice looking transcript though. This is good. It's got question, answer, it's got blocks of text. That's all very good. And then we have a notes page. The student took a lot of notes, included images of those notes for me. That's all I ask for for the notes requirement. Okay, so those are a few minutes of sort of summary comments on my part to you guys as you get ready to do your final revisions on this and turn it in on Friday. So email me if you have any questions leading up to that, but don't forget to save yours as a PDF so it's easy for me to use. Thanks a lot. Have a good afternoon, everybody.